Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show here on WKYC. I'm Adam the Bull, and this Black Friday, we're going to talk about fireable offenses for NFL coaches. One of them happened yesterday, and he actually got fired. Jason.
I'm Jason Lloyd. Cavs Celtics, the rematch is Sunday. We're going to talk about it and whether or not, how important it is for the Cavs to get a win. G.
Listen, I'm G. Bush, and I'm dressed in all black for Black Friday. But I'm going to talk about your man, JB Bickerstaff. Could Coach Stefanski be a starter coach just like JB was? McNuggets.
Plus, Sean King is back breaking down some snow globe footage from Jameis' Thursday night win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Bull, some of the stuff Sean has to say in this breakdown I know is going to trigger you.
I don't get triggered so easily there, Mike. I'm not that soft. We had fun with Sean during the week, and we'll hear more from Sean and then break down what he has to say coming up in a little bit. But you mentioned it, G. Kevin Stefanski has had an up and down tenure in his 5 years as Cleveland Browns head coach. In my opinion, there's been more good than bad, but there's definitely been some bad. He is only 2 games over 500 in the 78 games he's coached, and he's only won 1 playoff game, and really he didn't win it because he wasn't the coach that day. He was at home. So you just asked the question could Kevin Stefanski be the JB Bickerstaff, and can the next coach be the guy that takes them where? We don't know yet because the Cavs replacement for JB Bickerstaff has only coached 19 games. So we don't know if he's going to go any further in the playoffs. But Jason, are you buying this at all, this comparison?
No, I don't think it really exists in the NFL. The roster turnover is so drastic. With the Cavs situation, they brought everybody back. And they felt like they were a good team that was just missing one little piece to put them over the top. And obviously Kenny Atkinson to this point has been that piece. How can anyone say the Browns are one piece away or a coach away? They've got deficiencies all over the field. So I don't think it's an apt comparison. Plus, I don't know that it really exists. Guys get fired all the time in the NFL. And granted, there is a Belichick who's available this right now and possibly a Vrabel. So there are elite-type coaches out there. But for the most part, the NFL coaching machine is just a churn and burn type of game. I don't know that it really is a thing in the NBA. I'm not sure it is in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's a little difficult to say that because when you look at it, there's 3 or 4 parts that could happen. When you take a look at Kevin Stefanski, there's also a component of Andrew Berry. Are the players good enough? Did he hit on enough draft picks? We also look at the free agency. We got a lot of 1-year deals around there. Also, the big elephant in the room is it seems that ownership, the front office, and the coaching staff was all on board with Deshaun Watson. When that didn't work, it's kind of hard to pivot and say you're one piece away and the coach is, the reason why you ain't getting where you want to go when you missed on the biggest important position, quarterback. So, it's hard to say you're a starter coach. I think you've done, if you want to look at the 3 of them and you look at D. Podesta, you look at Andrew Berry, and you look at Kevin Stefanski, he's more accomplished than they are. And I think that his resume is a little bit better than those two. So I think it's a whole effect, and I think that they're missing more than just one coach away. They need a left tackle. They need another rush in. They need to figure out what they're doing at quarterback. They need a playback area receiver. Their offensive line is a little bit older. So there's a lot of different things the Browns need to work on in this offseason, and I can't just put it on the coach.
Mike, go ahead.
I think those are all fair and valid points. I think when you look at the Chargers, for example, and they signed Jim Harbaugh this offseason, came in, changed the culture, but probably with a less talented roster, they're in a much better position. And when you look at how JB Bickerstaff transitioned into Kenny Atkinson, it was the starter coach to, okay, this is the coach we hope can take us to the next level. The Chargers had identified that in Jim Harbaugh, and Kevin Stefanski still has a runway to prove if he's just a starter coach. Using the term, it's not necessarily the greatest word, but could he be a starter coach or could he be the long-term answer to elevate everyone else? I still think that's up in the air, but I just look at the Chargers as one example of a team that kind of changed everything by changing the head coach with the same key core component.
Now, I got a lot to say here. Number one, Kenny Atkinson and Harbaugh have not changed anything yet because neither one has gone to the playoffs yet.
Right.
So we won't – if the Cavs don't go to the Eastern Conference Finals, then what did Kenny Atkinson change?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, you could argue if they don't go to the Eastern Conference Finals, that's worse than what happened last year because this team's clearly more – clearly Evan Mobley has more talent than he played with. So he's gotten it out of him or he's gotten it out of himself, I don't know. So they should go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Whereas there was no expectation for the team last year to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, at least not from me. I think Mike's example of Harbaugh, again, that's not a good example yet. Because just because the Chargers are off to a good start, and I don't, by the way, Mike, I don't buy that the Chargers are a less talented team. They have less proven wide receivers.
They got a quarterback, though.
But they have the same quarterback.
That changes
He's not
things.
having his best year.
Yeah.
He's not having an amazing year. They've run the ball more this year. But it's not even like, they had Austin Eckler, who was a great back. They went to Dobbins, who've been playing pretty well. Now he's hurt. They have some emerging young wide receiver talent in Ladd McConkey and
Quentin Johnson.
Quentin Johnson. They're a nice young player, but Johnson was a rookie last year. They had veteran receivers, and McConkey wasn't there. So their defense is very talented. And again, if Harbaugh loses in the first round of the playoffs to the Chargers in a better way, maybe. We know Harbaugh's a good coach.
And and I just thought about this. Stefanski's, I guess, defense, you look at it, Jason, you say, all right, well, the first year he had Deshaun Watson, he was suspended for 11 games. The second year, he got hurt after 6 games. The third year, he got hurt after 8 games. So if you're a coach, what coach could say, I lost my quarterback for all of those games, and I had to pivot and find a guy every single year, and all the blame gets put on him? I just don't think you can do that.
And here's the thing. I don't think the starter-coach comparison holds any water. I don't think Kevin Stefanski's a starter coach. I've been a big supporter of Kevin Stefanski. I've soured on him some this year. And there was a moment a couple of weeks ago I was like, maybe they do have to fire him, and maybe the new GM. And that was a moment, and I moved on from that moment. I'm back again feeling pretty solidly about Kevin Stefanski. I still think he's done not a great job this year.
He's not had a good year.
But I'm not firing him over one bad year.
I agree.
And here's the thing when it comes to Kevin Stefanski. What I now feel after seeing this team more is I think we in the media overrated the talent on this roster. And instead of looking at this year and saying this year's a bust, which it is, and he hasn't done a good job, but I think it shows just how much he overachieved last year. Yes, they've underachieved this year, but I thought they were a 500 team for this season. I didn't think they were. There were people apoplectic that fans that were like, how do you not pick the Browns? They won 11 last year. They should win more. And I was like, I said at the beginning of the year, I'm not sure the defense is going to be as good. Trust me, I've been wrong about plenty of things, but I was right about that. And the talent was overrated. There's some high-end talent, but they're not deep enough across the board. And that's why I would change the GM, and I would stick with the coach. I think the coach, more often than not, has gotten the most out of his talent. He hasn't been able to do it this year, but I don't think the talent's good enough. I don't think it's a coaching problem. I think it's a talent problem when it comes to the Browns. All right, Sean King, we talked about it. I got into it with him the other day. We had a fun argument there. Sean is great at breaking down what he sees on the tape, and obviously he's loved what he's seen on the tape for Jameis Winston. With more, here's again Sean and Mikey McNuggets.
As we go through this, I want you to understand it's not easy, to play in these conditions. First of all, the footing is very inconsistent. So making sure that you have great balance and great fundamentals, helps so much. Also from a vision standpoint, from a quarterback's perspective, when it's snowing sideways or raining, it's not the easiest thing to see back there. I think you saw Jameis playing with his shield a couple times in this game on the sideline. That's strictly so that he can see. So we go ahead and run it from here, Mike. And I just want you to watch him being able to execute the play action. That's not an easy throw for a right-handed quarterback. But what he does, which is why I think he's one of the top half of the league quarterbacks, is I want you to pause it right there. So look at the positioning of the defensive back and look at the positioning of the pass catcher. So Jameis understands that the defensive back has leverage for the corner route. But I always say this on these cut-ups, a great throw can beat great defense all the time. He understands if he throws this ball like a normal corner route to the sideline, it's probably going to be incomplete. But under duress with somebody bearing down, and we can roll it from here, watch the ball location. He places it to the side of his wide receiver, understanding that that's an opportunity for what some would consider a back shoulder catch. But this is just a great ball location by Jameis Winston. Man, he's such a good player. So we roll it. You know, this is what I mean when you hear me say things like functional mobility. He's not going to run away and run for 40 yards, but he's athletic enough to evade, get out of the pocket, get his body around so that he can make an accurate throw. And, of course, we talk all the time about, man, he's one of the best throwers of the football that I've seen. And this isn't easy to do. We talked about the footing, you know, being able to outrun those guys and not slip, keep your eyes downfield. Man, that's not an easy picture. I mean, as a playing quarterback, I mean, you think it's hard to see on this video? Imagine being out there. So, I mean, Jameis is making plays, man. He's motivating his team. Every decision you make is not going to be necessarily the optimal decision, but let your throw make you right. And here's what I mean by that as we run this play right here. Jameis does have multiple options available, but he decides to take Judy on the outright. He believes in it. Boom. He's a little late, but he throws a dart. I love the ball location. It doesn't look like much, but I do want to show from a decision standpoint. If you can freeze it right there, Mike, he's got the middle route coming open on the dig. If you look right there, right at the hash. But again, he had already made his mind up that he wanted to take Judy on the out. And here's what I love about the throw. He's a little bit late, and he understands that. So instead of leading Judy to the sideline, he felt like I got enough arm talent. There's enough room for me to throw this ball back inside, so it's a completion. You see how he's a little late, how Judy's out of that break before he throws it? So instead of making it, okay, a toe tip on the sideline and weather, he understands, he sees, boom. A lot of people look at that as a bad throw. That's intentional by Jameis. So I love about Jameis, and he's matured to this point. Let it roll. A lot going on in the game, as you mentioned, Mikey, but guess who it isn't phasing? Look at him. Oh, my goodness. You talk about calm when it's chaotic. You had to watch the game to understand what all happened here, the back and forth. But watch Jameis. No happy feet. He's in the pocket. He's big. He's strong. He makes a decision. Ball's a little bit behind him, but because he's targeting such a small area, his miss is small. I tell guys this all the time, man. Aim small, miss small, right? If you pick a minute target that you're trying to hit, a poorly thrown ball is still catchable. If you're throwing to a wide window and you miss, then this is an incompletion. Man, I'm so proud of Jameis and who he's becoming as a player and person in this league. And I just want you guys, Browns fans, to see this from behind one more time and just watch how confident, how calm, how big and strong Jameis looks. Just watch 5. Look at him. Man, he looked like this is pregame, right? We're just throwing routes against the defense. Man, I love this kid. Cleveland, don't mess this up. You guys got one of the better quarterbacks in the National Football League. Believe in him, build around him, and the sky's the limit.
Great breakdown by Sean there, guys. I would say in the future, Mike, I would wish you, those were all good. Those first 2 throws especially were fantastic throws by Jameis. And Sean broke them down great to show you just how good they were. I would have loved to see his breakdown of when he threw that bad pick late in the game. Not to be like, I don't like Jameis. Just to say, hey, what happened on that play? I was curious. Because Jameis makes some of these throws that are great, and then he made that pick, which was a terrible throw, and I'd love to hear Sean's analysis as to why that happened.
We did talk about that. It's on the full video on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Check that out.
Sean essentially said, quarterbacks have bad throws. He missed one. Just said he missed
I got no deep analysis on that.
Sean said it was a decent read. He just overthrew it.
Okay.
He said maybe it was a wet ball. It sailed on him.
I mean, listen, he has some throws there. I think there'll be more people that get on board as the weeks go along. People don't remember the Joe Flacco train got rolling when Joe put games together.
Strung games together.
Yeah. When you string games together, people now pique their interest because there's a lot of people that's checked out a little bit on the Browns.
Yeah.
But if he can get a win on Monday night and a lot of people will see him, that momentum will start to gain.
The difference is Joe Flacco was they had a good record when he took over.
Right.
So he was taking them to the playoffs, whereas Jameis is not.
So, yeah.
There was also a number of years ago where people wanted to sign Brian Hoyer after a good start, too.
Yeah, I mean, Jameis has played well. The only place
Jameis is not Brian Hoyer. He's a lot better.
The only place where G and I disagree, I think, is I wouldn't rush to sign him long term.
That's it. I'm the same way.
I think he's been fine.
If you told me he's going to be their starter next year, I don't have a beef with that.
Okay.
I just don't see the rush in having to sign him right now. That's it.
And look, I wouldn't. If you said today, do you sign him? I mean, I would have a conversation with him and say, hey, we like how you're playing, and if we keep this up, we want to do something. I would let him know that our interest in him as a quarterback moving forward. Necessarily, they need to sign him a contract today? No, but I would be informing him that, hey, we like what we see, and we possibly view you as a guy that could be a bridge quarterback.
If he loves Cleveland as much as he says, then doing something in January shouldn't be a big deal. Let's look at the landscape and see. When we come back, we switch gears from the Browns to the Cavaliers. They lost to the Hawks. Can they bounce back? And a big bounce back they need to make against the Celtics on Sunday in Cleveland. That's coming up on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on WKYC. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show here on WKYC. Guys, the Cavs will play the Hawks this afternoon. All right, we will look for them to bounce back in Atlanta after they lost to the Hawks at home.
NBA Cup game.
Of course, the big NBA Cup. We're all locked into that. But the big game in the next few days is Sunday, where the Cavs look to get revenge against another team and a more important team. That's Boston, and this game will be at home. G, how big is this game for the Cavaliers on Sunday?
Really big.
And with Kristaps Porzingis, they lost without the Celtics not having him. Now they got to play against them again, but with him.
This is a measuring stick game. You lost in Boston. You want to come back and you want to show Boston that not only are we as good as team as you, but this is what you have to look forward to in the playoffs. You're going to have to beat us at home. I think it's a great opportunity to improve their defense, run guys off the three-point line, and show the NBA that, look, we are legit. Until you can beat the Boston Celtics and show that you can beat them consistently, people are going to look at the early start and say, yeah, that's good. You guys have improved. But how good are you against the champs?
Porzingis changes things drastically for Boston, in a good way for them, not in a good way for the Cavs. It gives them size to guard Evan Mobley with. Remember, go back even to the playoff series last year, Porzingis wasn't available, and Mobley obviously had a great series against Boston. It really gives them the opportunity to play five wide and spread the floor. Cavs have struggled guarding the three-point line. We talked about on the YouTube show. They're the second worst team in the league right now in defending the three-point line by percentage. That's all Boston does is shoot threes. The Cavs have to do a better job of getting out to the shooters, closing out, running guys off the line, forcing the ball out of their hands. It should be a point of emphasis here, starting with the game against the Hawks here shortly, and then carrying over into the Boston game. It's a big game. I agree with you, G. They have to prove that they can beat Boston. Boston at full health now with Porzingis. It's going to be that much more difficult to do. Darius Garland had a terrible game last time against Boston. I don't think he'll be that badly. He'll play that poorly again this time around. The Cavs just didn't shoot it well against Boston. The way that Boston switches defensively, it slowed their ball movement down. The Cavs have to get back to working both sides of the floor. We talked about the drive kick swing. You didn't see a lot of that against the Celtics the first time around. Hopefully they can get back into some of that Sunday.
When the Cavs played in Boston last week, they were without not a player as important as Porzingis, but three key bench guys, Karis LeVert, Dean Wade, and Isaac Okoro, all missed that game. Now, Okoro's been back. LeVert and Wade have not gotten back yet. Do we know if those guys are likely to play by Sunday, Mike?
I was told that Dean Wade is trending towards playing on Sunday, and Karis is a game-time decision today against the Hawks. So we'll
I wouldn't play him today. If he's a game-time decision, I'd just sit them both and bring them back, I guess, Sunday. We'll see. So it is possible that both of these teams could be completely Max Strus will still be out, but completely, besides him, all hands on deck, which would be cool to see, basically a full complement. And, yeah, the Cavs have hit a little rocky patch here. They did not play well against – the game was close. The final score was close. But I didn't think the Cavs played particularly well against Boston. And obviously they didn't play well against Atlanta. They've after starting 15-0, they're 2-2 in their last four. So taking care of business today against Atlanta would be nice. And then, we're all going to be locked into that Sunday game. But, I'm curious to see. I mean, you think about this Celtics team. They won a championship without one of their best players.
Yeah.
Porzingis is what, their third best player?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a very deep team. He
Yeah.
makes them even deeper. But I will say on Monday, if the Cavs can get a win against the Hawks, they redeem themselves for what they did last night,
Yep.
and then you could beat the Celtics. I think that we get back on the feel-good train, and we start to think about this team possibly winning, 60-plus games in a season.
That's true. If they win their next 2 games, they will have defeated every team they've played this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they would have avenged their only 2 losses. Mike, are you confident in this team going into the game?
Yeah, I mean, I like your chances. They've been much better at home despite the loss to Atlanta on Wednesday. Last year, in the final regular season game against Boston at home, was the Dean Wade 22-point fourth quarter comeback.
Yeah.
The Porzingis thing adds an element of not nuance, a little new flavor to the rivalry because he wasn't there in the playoffs last year.
How did he fit in there? He's played 1 game since he's been back, right?
He scored 16 points.
Did they win?
Yeah.
You wonder if there's any growing pains because they haven't played with him in a long time.
Yeah. The thing about the Celtics is they move the ball very well. They find open guy. They seem to always make the extra pass. And Porzingis is a guy who can affect the game not only offensively but defensively. Now, you got a 7-foot-plus guy under the rim as a rim protector. Al Horford is a guy who can stretch the floor. So when you look at Porzingis and bringing him back, it puts more of an emphasis on now. We will see if Evan Mobley has really taken that step because now he still needs to be effective against length and still needs to be effective, playing against guys his size or taller.
Bears coach Matt Eberflus got fired today after what he did yesterday. Most of us thought was a fireable offense, and now he was actually fired. What else could be a fireable offense in the NFL? We'll get to that next on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on WKYC. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on WKYC. Matt Eberflus, not the sharpest tool in the shed. He is the head coach of the Chicago Bears. At least he was the head coach of the Chicago Bears until he did this in yesterday's game. It was Thanksgiving, of course. The Bears had made a huge comeback in this game and still had a chance to win. There you see rookie quarterback Caleb Williams, and you see the clock running and running and running and running.
Snap it. Snap the ball. You're the quarterback. Snap the ball.
We got quarterback blame from
Snap
Jason.
the ball. Why aren't you, that's on the quarterback, too. I'm not defending Eberflus.
Yeah. And then the game ended without another play.
There's no reason they couldn't snap that ball at 14 seconds, 13 seconds.
Can the coach call a timeout in the middle of the play?
Yes. He can call timeout anytime. But
No. When he saw he didn't have it, I got to run to the line. Timeout.
Okay.
He didn't have it.
Here's the deal. Is the quarterback somewhat to blame? Of course he is. But if you're a head coach and you know your quarterback's been overwhelmed this year, you've already fired the changed offensive coordinators.
Yeah.
You see he's clearly looking out of sorts. You've got to immediately call a timeout. Really, that's your only option. You got to call a timeout. They should have been prepared before that. They totally botched that situation.
They did, for sure.
100%. And ultimately, yes, the quarterback takes some blame. You'd blame him more if it was a veteran. But we're all watching that game snap the ball, of course. There's no way they shouldn't have gotten a minimum of 2 plays, if not more, in that situation.
And why don't they already know what that play is?
Exactly.
Why are you making any sort of checks?
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
So what are some other fire?
Yeah, I was going to say that seems like a fireable offense. You got another fireable offense?
David Black calling a timeout he didn't have. But luckily, Ty Lue saw it and pulled him back, or that would have been a fireable offense.
I'll piggyback. David Black calling an out-of-bounds play for anybody but LeBron James. And he hits the game winner after he changed it in the huddle. I'm not running that.
A fireable offense should be a coach punching a player, right?
Woody Hayes.
Shouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Woody Hayes.
Should be, yeah. Have we seen it since? I feel like didn't Bobby Knight punch somebody once?
Oh, multiple times.
He threw a chair on the floor, but
yeah.
He allegedly.
Mike, you got one?
What happened yesterday is the prime example. I also think, now you guys covered it. Punching a player is probably the most fireable offense an NFL coach can make.
Any coach.
Yeah.
Or running Nick Chubb twice in a game.
Or, I don't...
if he's healthy.
Or allegedly, what did the Boston Celtics coach do? before this one?
I call.
That was off the court.
Oh, yeah.
That was off the court. We don't have to get into that on KYC.
We
10 seconds is
I
not
thought you
enough
meant the
time.
Larry Bird, Dennis Johnson thing, but that was many, many moons ago. All right,
the
thanks
way-
for joining us. We'll see you Monday on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Peace.